You'd be surprised. It's not just school that doesn't teach you. I studied chartered accountancy. Even chartered accountancy doesn't teach you how to manage your own money.
Saving or spending?
Saving habit is important once you start getting in your first paycheck. My first big splurge, I was a young and dumb 20-year-old. I bought a very expensive handbag.
If you could give your 18-year-old self one money tip, what would it be?
Don't buy the handbag. If you're buying physical gold, you can buy like coins or biscuits, but jewelry with making charge wastage is not as Gender has nothing to do with money. Just because they're men doesn't mean they're fantastic with money. And just because we're girls doesn't mean that we won't understand money. The goal of the book as well, to have a friend speaking to you about money. That's also why it's called the friendliest guide to finance. So.
Hello and welcome everybody. This is Sonu M. Kothari, a reporter from the New Indian Express. Today, we are joined by chartered accountant and financial content creator Lavanya Mohan, the author of the recently launched book Money Doesn't Grow on Trees. We are thrilled to have her here today with us to talk about her book, her journey, and how we can all build better money habits. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Sonu.
How are you feeling today?
Very good. I'm very excited to be here. And like I was telling you off camera, the New Indian Express is a publication I've been reading ever since I was in school, which is a very long time ago. So I'm very excited to be here.
Okay. So you have been a financial blogger for quite some time now. And, recently you've added a new feather to your cap. You're an author now. How does that make you feel?
The journey started actually a bit earlier. I did go through a few publishers when the idea came up. And it got to a point where when Simon & Schuster came in last October, I did not even want to believe it until it was published. Okay. So I kept telling myself, okay, we'll see it when it comes. We'll see it when it comes. And then yesterday, I remember seeing it in the store for the first time, and that's when it really hit me. So it's been a bit surreal, but couldn't be happier. I'm very glad that it's out now.
Congratulations on your book. Since your earliest memories, what has been your relationship with money and how has it evolved over the years?
So, I grew up in a household where money was actually discussed fairly often and openly. So, my father's a chartered accountant and I'm also a chartered accountant. And even when we were young, he'd keep driving this whole point about, needing to save, needing to invest. And he'd tell us where our investments were, and he'd always encourage us to kind of like go forth and invest and think about it. So I did not know until much later that was not at all normal. And most households did not discuss money with the aggression that my household did. So even at the start, I want to say that I was very lucky to have like that kind of open relationship with money where, we were all, both me and my sister, younger sister, we were greatly encouraged to make our own money decisions. My mother, I remember, always used to tell me that, you have to kind of like own your own money. So we were also driven to like work early on. And I think all of that really helped shape my relationship with money. In terms of how it's evolved, I think as you grow older, that aggression with which you chase money as a young person, that has kind of like mellowed down a bit. Okay. I do look at the value a lot more than the actual number itself. So I want to say it's healthier now. I think that's how it's evolved. Other than that, I think I was lucky enough to have a healthy relationship with money from an early age. And I think that's also what's helped me kind of create content around money, because my perspective around money has always been the same for the most part.
Did this experience make you pen down this book or?
Absolutely. Like I said, it was only when I got out of home and, you go get your first job, you go out a bit, have more friends, see what's going on in their households, talk about money, that I realized that a lot of extremely smart women my own age, smarter than me, were all struggling with finances or didn't want to talk about finances, or they would say stuff like, I'll let my brother handle it, I'll let my dad handle it, I'll let my boyfriend, husband handle
Yes.
it, versus them taking money in their control, right? And that I found very surprising. So that's when you go back and realize, okay, like I am very comfortable being hands on with money because I grew up in a household that wanted me to be hands on with money. Whereas most people, it's just something that the father does, like not everybody else is involved. I actually grew up watching my mother also contribute towards the investment decisions in the household, right? So that is also not a universal experience. And because I was able to participate in all of that at a young age, for me it was very normal. And when I came out, I realized that's not normal, but it should be. More women should come out and take part in all these investment decisions. More women should know what's going on with their money. I really wanted to create something that would help people, both young and older, to basically not feel overwhelmed at the thought of taking control of their finances.
Talking about how women don't take financial roles,
Mm.
be it in a family,
Mm.
do you think the current generation is also like that, or do you see a shift?
There is definitely a shift, and it's a
Mm.
positive one for sure. I think thanks to the internet, and at some level, thanks to the number of finance influencers who also kind of like popped up, right? Whether or not I agree with their advice, what they have done is to normalize the talk of money. So I know that young people in this generation now are more aware of health insurance than they ever were before. They're more aware of SIPs, mutual funds. There's also been a lot of push from the government, in terms of making mutual funds more prevalent and more popular. You see all the ads during cricket and all of that. There's a lot more curiosity. So I definitely think this generation is a lot more aware.
This generation is also a generation who give in to the Instagram trends and just buy whatever they see on the gram. So how well do you think they'll manage their money?
That's a great question. I actually think it's a very difficult time to be a young person right now. I don't think I would have survived had I been in my 20s in this current situation, because the kind of temptation I think that lies for this present generation, where influencers are constantly in your face, they're constantly telling you you need something new every 5 minutes.
Yes.
Desire is constantly thrown at your face, and if it's not the influencers, then it's the brands themselves that are advertising. You're constantly bombarded, right, with advertisements and new products, and every trend seems to be an extension of your personality, right? It's like you have to change yourself to fit in, and that changing yourself involves so many other things that you have to buy, right?
Yes.
And you combine that with the fact that wages aren't increasing. You combine that with the kind of inflation that we have right now, with the kind of rents that people are paying right now, and the ease with which we can do payments online. With UPI, you don't even have to think. Like, you can be half asleep and then you can execute a payment, right? So it's a very difficult time to be like a young person right now, whatever they're going through. And I don't think they should be blamed for the extra spending that is happening, because that's just the world that they are in. So that's why actually also I wrote this book, because I just want to tell them, like, it's not that scary to take control of your finances. And I 100% believe that, if you just take a step back, overcome like that fear of um, just confronting your finances, it's actually a lot easier than you think it is.
So there's a clear shift, like with awareness, there are also the money management processes has differ. So there's a shift. So what do you think the education institutions, what role can they play? And even in the book you have mentioned, like we have not been taught about finances in school, at school level. So what do you think is the right age to introduce this subject to students?
You'd be surprised. It's not just school that doesn't teach you. I studied chartered accountancy. Even chartered accountancy doesn't teach you how to manage your own money. So I actually think the right age for this should be around after 10th standard, I think 11th, 12th, if we can start introducing concepts like compounding to young people, I think it will be very useful. And I think we should also be teaching them about like delayed gratification, where it's like, okay, if you just wait, instead of taking the money and spending it today itself, if you just wait, if you save it, let it grow for a bit, and then you go in, dip into it, and spend it, you will have a lot more money than you did before. Concepts like delayed gratification, concepts like compounding, concepts like investing. I think class 11, class 12 would be great, because after that you're out in the
World.
big bad world, so to speak, right? College is a very entirely different experience with also consequences around money. So I do think that 11th, 12th is probably like the ideal age in my head for teaching about money, because then you get to build on that base during college, and then by the time you're in the workforce, you have a much clearer idea of what money is. So you're not struggling like the moment you get your first salary, right? You know what you want to do, you know what you're going to do. So I think that's like the ideal age.
Okay, so this is also the age where you get pocket money from your parents.
Yeah.
So do you think from the day one that you are given money, you should start thinking about saving, spending, investment, or how should it be?
So what like I think parents should tell their kids is, today I'm giving you 50, next week I'll give you 50. You can either spend this 50 fully and then wait for the next 50, or you can spend very little, so that by the time you get the next 50, you have a bit more from the previous week to add on, and you can buy yourself something nice. If you can learn the lesson that by waiting I can put it together and I can get something bigger, that's a very important lesson, because it sets you up to wait. I'm not going to be buying something on EMI. Kids who do that will not go for EMI, because they know, okay, like if I can wait, I can do this without having to borrow or without having to pay EMIs on anything, right? And I think saving and investing should come from your first job. I think once you get into your first job, you build a habit of saving. I say habit because what you need to get used to is money going out of your account every month. People will say save between 20%, 30%. I think when you're young, your first salary is not that much, you barely have enough, you have to live your life. But what you need to get used to is that a chunk of money goes out every month, so that by the time your salary steps up, you can just keep adding to that little saving that happens every month. You can just keep adding to it. And because that habit has already been set up for you, you already learn to live with a little less, and you're not figuring this out for the first time. So I think setting up that savings habit is important once you start getting in your first paycheck.
Okay, so comparatively, it's a huge jump, right? Say 50, 100 bucks as your pocket money to your first salary, say 15,000, 20,000. So when you got so much of, this jump, so what should be the goal? Should your goal be how to become rich, or should it be, how I channelize my money in different options available?
You can do both.
Okay.
I think when you're young, right, and you have that big bump between like taking money from your parents
to
like making your own money, which can seem like a big amount. Along with this bigger salary come bigger responsibilities and bigger expenses, right? If you have the luxury of staying with your parents, obviously you can save much more, you can be a lot more conscious and aware about like your investments. But if you're moving to a different city, then you'll have different responsibilities and you'll have a lot less left. So I do think at the start, what you want to do is figure out how to manage your money, figure out how to manage your living expenses, your wants. You do want to still go out for coffee. You'll have friends. You'll have to make new friends. New friends means hanging out with them a bit more.
Yes.
So all of that, you'll have to live your life, and then you'll also have to save. I think taking that as a first step. And if you're going to be salaried, or if you're going to be like working for someone or having a career in corporate, the only way to really like make money and like become rich, so to speak, is negotiating your salary like every year with like your pay rises, or like if you're switching between jobs, you get a bump over here, bump over there. So that is really the way to like make a bit more money as a salaried person.
Okay, before going ahead, we have a few set of questions. We have a rapid fire sort of. Yes. So a few questions.
Yeah.
What was your first big splurge with your own money?
My first big splurge, I was a young and dumb 20-year-old. I bought a very expensive handbag
Okay.
from a brand called Calonge.
Nice.
That's still there, I think. It's an Indian brand. It was at Ispahani Center. I won't forget.
Okay. Wow. Okay. One financial app you cannot live without.
I end up using, I don't know if this will come off as a brand plug, but I end up using Kite and Coin. Those are two apps that I use for investing.
Okay. A money habit you're proud of and one you're still working on.
A money habit I'm proud of is automating my SIPs to go out on the 2nd of every month. I make sure that whatever I'm spending or whatever I have left to spend is after saving. One habit that I'm working on, it's a 30s problem, I guess. So between me, my husband, and we also have now like an account for my child who's 8. I think merging our family finances has been a bit of a challenge, and we're still working on it because, we're spread across a few different banks. So there's a joint account in one bank, and then like my husband has his account, I have my account, and then now the child has an account. So just figuring out like what's going on where, I think is something that we're still working on.
Save, spend, or invest. What's your favorite word and habit?
Invest. Definitely invest. I think it sounds good as a word. As a word. And I also think that's the habit because saving is only one part of the puzzle. I think for money to really grow, it needs to be invested.
Nice. Yeah. If you could give your 18-year-old self one money tip, what would it be?
Don't buy the handbag.
Yeah. A financial myth you would love to bust in one line.
Gender has nothing to do with money.
Nice.
I know we've all seen our fathers, our brothers, our husbands, our boyfriends deal with money. But just because they're men doesn't mean they're fantastic with money. And just because we're girls doesn't mean that we won't understand money.
Correct.
They're just as capable of doing excellently or terribly, just like we are capable of doing excellently or terribly. Gender has nothing to do with it.
Nice. What's more satisfying, saving 1,000 rupees or finding a 100 rupee note in an old wallet?
100 rupee note in an old wallet, for sure.
Okay, that's it for rapid fire. Back to the interview. In the book, you cover topics like budgeting, saving, and investing in a very easy to understand way with simpler examples. It may be your own life examples or general examples. How did you approach simplifying these terms and finances without dumbing it down?
I think that was the goal of the book in itself, where I wanted to explain money, but without being condescending, right?
Yes.
And being like, sit down, I will teach you. So I did not want that tone. I also didn't want a lecture where it's like, oh, you don't know this, like you're terrible at this or whatever. So I took the approach of kind of speaking to my sister or an imaginary friend, where it's like, okay, if I were to speak to my sister about this, or if I were to speak to one of my very good friends about this, how would I speak, right? So I know that I read out more or less every chapter.
Nice.
While after I had written it, just to make sure like the tone was right, because what keeps a lot of young people as well as women away from money is that they're like, the moment I get into it, somebody's going to lecture me or talk down on me. I did not want that. I wanted to approach it the way like a friend would kind of like sit and explain it. So that was more or less like the goal of the book as well, to have a friend speaking to you about money. That's also why it's called the friendliest guide to finance. So.
Yes. Was there any challenging part while writing this book, and what was the most rewarding, satisfying part of the whole journey?
The challenging part was definitely, I think, the investments chapter because it is dense.
Yes.
I know, like, I wanted to keep the book as light as possible, but when you really get into explaining, okay, I want to tell you what a mutual fund is, I want to tell you what real estate is, I want to tell you how index funds work, it's not going to be completely jargon free,
Yes.
right? So I tried my best to kind of simplify it as much as possible, but if you are to understand it, you do have to pick up a few words, which is also why in this book I say money is a language, right? And all of this is vocabulary. Stop looking at money as maths. I know a lot of us immediately think money equals maths, but money is more like a language. It has vocabulary, it has grammar, you learn some new words. So there was that kind of balance that I had to have where I can't dumb it down because I don't want to dumb it down, but at the same time you have to use certain words. So that was definitely a challenge in terms of keeping it friendly while still making sure like the point is conveyed. So that was a challenging part. The most rewarding part, I think, were the chapters that combined life and money. There is a chapter on love and relationships which I really enjoyed writing.
Yeah, these also came from very personal
Yeah.
perspective, and also you have made it quite relatable and simplified to the audience. So did you, like, in this journey, did you personally find learning something new or rethink your own money habits?
I did. I think among the things that writing the book really taught me was how far I'd also come in terms of, the ways in which I approach money. Like I said, I would tell my 18-year-old self not to buy the bag. Right? I think that's why there's a lot of also personal anecdotes, and I have shared as much as possible from my own life just to be like, you know what, like, you can also do this. These are things that we all go through, so don't feel like you're very alone in this, right?
Correct.
Even the awkwardness when it comes to discussing money with your partner or money with whoever it is that you're dating or even married to, like, it's very hard. And I wanted to make sure people knew that just because I am a chartered accountant or whatever, I did my husband's taxes, I remember, even before I spoke to him about money. Like, I knew what was in his bank account, but even then I didn't have the guts to be like, okay, you know what, we need to sit and talk about this. So I understand that the process is hard. And I think that's also what I wanted to convey, in that it's hard for everyone. So don't think that you're very alone in this. And because it's hard for everyone, you know that, if you put in a bit of effort, you can come out and speak about it.
If a reader could take away just one habit from the book, what would it be?
Money will grow once you let it. You just have to allow it to grow.
I have a few this or that questions. You have to choose. Saving or spending?
Saving.
Okay. Investing in stocks or real estate?
I think with real estate, the only kind of inhibitor is the kind of capital that you need. Not everyone can invest in real estate. Although it is a very niche and interesting area to put money in. Just because of how much more accessible it is, I would say stocks.
Nice. Okay.
Although both are risky. Put money in mutual funds instead.
Okay. Budgeting app or pen or paper?
Pen and paper.
Financial advice from a book or from a friend?
From a chartered accountant. If the friend is a chartered accountant, then yes.
Okay. Money management or wealth creation?
I don't think there's one without the other. But if I have to focus on one, I would say in your 20s, focus on money management. In your 30s, focus on wealth creation.
Nice. Okay, so last segment of the interview. What do you think are some of the most common financial mistakes Indians make, and a few tips how they can avoid them?
Okay, so one common mistake that we seem to be doing as Indians is being very married to older generations' ideas of saving. Like, for example, all of us grew up with seeing our grandparents tell our parents, LIC le lo, get like the insurance investment product. And back then, that was the option available, right? Today, there's much more available in terms of more efficient investments, things that can actually help you beat inflation, better designed products. So, being married to insurance investment products, I think, is one avoidable habit. I have an opinion on this, and I've written about it in the book as well. Like, please avoid insurance investment products. They're not good for you at all. You're better
Yes.
off
Yes.
investing in mutual funds and then buying term insurance for
Mhm.
protection.
Hmm.
So I think that is perhaps like one mistake. I think the second mistake is that we are very casual with debt.
Mm.
India has a debt problem. No one wants to talk about it, but we do have very alarming increase in casual debt. The number of credit card users have spiked. Credit card default has spiked. Debt has grown to like 40% of the GDP. Things can spiral a lot quicker than we think. We can manage. Layoffs are happening. Like,
Yes.
life is very unpredictable, and when life is unpredictable and you get into debt, it's very concerning. I'm not talking about home loans. I'm not talking about like education loans. I'm talking about getting an iPhone on EMI, going on holidays on EMI. That kind of spending needs to
Stop.
not happen.
Okay.
So that I would say are like common things. And then leaving your saving towards the end of the month. After doing all your kharcha, you can't be like, yeah, I'll save whatever is left. Save and then do kharcha is my...
Okay. So you partially answered this question, but again, I'm asking this. What are some money myths or advice that are often passed down from previous generations that don't work today?
That is like the insurance.
Yeah.
One advice that I would also say, it's a bit cultural, it's a bit traditional, but buying jewelry as investment is something that I have a problem with. Gold is a fantastic investment as long as you invest in it. Our parents would say jewelry is an investment. Jewelry is not really an investment. It's like an asset. Okay, you want to create some assets for your child. Please go ahead and call it an asset, or just call it jewelry. Buy it because you like the design, but don't buy jewelry and pay making charges, pay wastage, and pay for the brand if you're buying it from a brand, and then call it an investment. It's not an investment. You're better off buying like either stocks in gold companies or gold ETFs or gold bonds. Then, or even if you're buying physical gold, you can buy like coins or biscuits, but jewelry with making charge wastage is not an investment. It's not like a pure investment. That's one thing that gets me. But gold is like a superb investment, and especially at the rates at which it's going now. So,
yeah. In your view, what does it really mean to be financially independent? Is it the number, like bank account, the money we have, or is it a mindset, or is it a mix of both?
Financial independence is when you have the ability to choose whatever it is that you want to do, right?
Yes.
When you know that you can walk out from a job knowing fully well, okay, that for the next 6 months, I don't have to, worry about money. Or for the next 1 year, I don't have to worry about money. I can put my head down, work on something on my own, or I can put my head down, take a break, figure whatever it is that I want to do. That is financial independence. When you have enough money to be like, I am not going to be dependent on my partner. You can walk out of a bad marriage. You can walk out of bad jobs. You can walk out of any kind of situation that is not to your liking. When you have the money, because it's like one very large thing that you don't have to worry about. There's enough to worry about in life as is. And when you know that you have the money that can back you up in that decision, then that's financial independence. It's not a specific number, it's all dependent upon people. But the moment you have that freedom to choose whatever it is that you want to do next, then you're financially independent.
Okay. What would be your one-line money mantra?
Money doesn't grow on trees is my money mantra.
Okay. With this, we have reached the end of the chat. It has been a very insightful conversation, and thank you
Thank you, Sonu, for
for
having
sharing
me.
your time, insight, and your experiences. And the book Money Doesn't Grow on Trees is not just a book, but I think it's a much needed conversation starter. And we're very glad to have had this one with you today here.
Thank you so much, Sonu. Such an honor and pleasure to be at the Express office today and to speak to you.
Wishing you all the best for all your
Thank you,
future.
Sonu.
And thank you, viewers, for your time and support. I hope you take away something meaningful from this chat. Thank you.